Ooh. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Off Base Podcast. The podcast carefully crafted to remind you to suck a fat one if you think you're the only one, because you're not. I'm your host. I'm the Rocky Mountain no-name Jackass. And it's 41 degrees in the city of Aurora at 8:12 in the a.m. on Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. What's up? Jaw time, my wife's least favorite part of the podcast. Ceremonial spit. Coming up. There it is. All right. Let's get this show on the fucking road. Gonna need these. Coming out of the gas station today. Just getting some gas and cleaning off the windshields because my car, the motor for the windshield washer fluid is still fucking busted. Took it to the guys over the weekend. Left my car with him for an hour while I went and got the groceries. Actually, it was a little over an hour. Went and got the groceries. I came back and they were like, yeah, we can't find what's wrong. I'm like, oh, fuck, great. So I got to take it back again this coming Saturday, and they're gonna spend a little bit more time with it. So hopefully I get it fixed soon enough. It's funny, man. This car is in pretty good shape. I think it's a 2015 Buick Enclave, 2015 or 2016, one of the two. Can't remember. But here we are, 2022. We bought it used. What's the mileage on it? Let me check my sticker. 62,000 miles on it. So we got it, it's probably about halfway through its life here. Because, I can probably get 120, 125,000 out of it, I think. But it's funny, I haven't had that many issues with this car to deal with. But these little things just keep fucking coming up. Like I had to get, when I first got here, I had to get new brakes. What else did I have to get? It was brakes. It was new tires because I didn't have winter tires or all-season tires. And, we're living in Texas and Florida. You don't need them when you're down there. But in Colorado, you need them. So I had to get those. My fucking tailgate, with the arm that automatically lifts it up and pulls it down, that thing busted. I haven't gotten that one fixed yet either. But now I got this washer fluid thing, and there's one other thing that needs fixing. I forgot what the fuck it is. Anyway, either way, the car is taking its toll now on the repairs. But after these repairs get done, things should be okay, I think. Right? We just needed to get from here to there and back again. Because in Florida, all the kids took the buses to school. And I didn't have to drive anybody. So I had all kinds of extra time at home. And in Tejas, school was maybe about 5 minutes away by car. It was like a 20-minute, 30-minute walk. And I used to take the kids in the morning. When they got old enough, they could walk home by themselves. And it was just a nice walk. I loved walking around Texas. We're trying to figure out. Obviously, it's going to take a little while here for us to figure it out. But my wife, again, was showing me real estate in now the Dallas area. And she's so funny. I think I said yesterday that she looks at real estate like other women look at shoes. She's like, oh, I want that. Oh, I want that. But the funny thing about real estate is that it's fucking going like hotcakes still around here. And she showed me these houses in this Dallas suburb that she found. And part of me, there was, how do I want to say this? There was when she starts showing me stuff, like when we were back in Florida. So that was last year at around this time. She would start showing me stuff. I could have cared. I could have cared less. And I have to figure out, the best way to say that to her so that I don't put any strain on the relationship. But when it comes down to it, I really couldn't care less. We were at that time, we were 3 years away from retirement. Houses were going like hotcakes. I'm actually hoping that we're going to hit a downslope in prices by the time she has to retire in another year and a half. I mean, it's got to come down. These levels are unsustainable. But on the other hand, the reason why they're unsustainable, well, there's multiple reasons. There's never just one thing. There's multiple reasons why all these price hikes that we're experiencing are unsustainable since COVID hit. And a lot of it has to do with the amount of debt. Because the amount of debt that we're continuing to accumulate, not only as private citizens, also zombie corporations, and also the United States federal government and state governments as well. I mean, let's not leave those guys out. All that debt has to be paid for in some way, shape, or form. Well, you can either, do it naturally by raising taxes, and I'm talking specifically on the federal level. You can do it by raising taxes. On the personal level, you can do it by going out and get a second job. That just increases your revenue. But all the government has to do is say, pay me more. It's the federal mafia. And another way that you can pay for the spending, which is what they're doing right now, is through inflation. The Federal Reserve has printed an extraordinary amount of bank reserves to keep the financial markets afloat. Who gives a shit about the little man who isn't involved in the financial markets? But unfortunately, that is where our economy is right now. It's a financialized economy. It's not a goods-based economy. It's a service-based economy. And the consumer drives the spending. Anyway, how the fuck was I getting on this? Oh yeah, house prices. So, by traditional measures, one of them being the Case-Shiller Home Price Index, another one being the Buffett indicator, which is a very, very simple calculation of the value of it's either the value of the stock market divided by GDP or GDP divided by the value of the stock market. One of the two. Both are at ridiculous levels right now. And typically what you see when you see dramatic, dramatic differences between where prices are now and the mean over the last, however many years, is you will see a correction, man. That's just the way things go. But with the amount of inflation that's in the system, it's tough to say. The reason why I say it's tough to say is because we're not the only indebted nation in the world. Like, everybody's fucking indebted. Like, Europe is ridiculous. I mean, Greece, that's why we had that whole crisis over in Greece back in 2011. That fucking shit was ridiculous. And then, Europe's a mess in that regard. Now, it's been like a decade or so, but Germany is still driving everything over there. And they don't want to fucking, they're part of the European Union. They don't want to pay off Greece's debt. How fucking stupid is that? That's like all of a sudden the cops come over to your neighborhood and you'd be like, hey, your neighbor 2 houses over, he can't pay his mortgage anymore. Now you got to pay it. And it's like, what? dude, what the fuck, man? So, anyway, things are messy, suffice to say. But going back to the real estate thing, so yeah, I'm hoping that we start to see that mean reversion in asset prices and home prices by the time my wife retires, whether it's in 2023, summer 2023, or she goes in and it's actually picked up for another job. It might be 2024. We'll see. We'll see what decision she decides to make. But because her retirement is so far off, I'm not even thinking about a forever house just yet. The only thing I want in a forever house is a kitchen with an island that has a stove on it, stove and a sink. We had something like that back in Alaska, and I fucking loved that kitchen. Loved it. The only other thing that I really want in a forever house, now I've been thinking about it more and more and more and more, is a home theater. I think that just would be slick as shit to decorate that thing with either movie posters or sports posters or what. It's kind of exciting to think about. So bottom line being that she's so funny when she finds these houses. She's like, oh, that house looks so great. And I'm like, well, yeah, but we can't move into it for another year and a half. You think it's still going to be on the market? And I said that to her yesterday, and she's like, no. She says, but it's still fun for me to look at. And I'm like, that's fine. That's great. You do you in 2022, baby. But she really, she's worked very hard over the last 2 decades to be one of the top performers in any either flight or squadron or group that she has been in, and her performance reviews have reflected that. So, and plus she's had 2 deployments, one to Iraq and one to Afghanistan. So, I mean, she fucking deserves it. She deserves a nice house. And when the time comes, I will be deferring to her. She has done extremely well financially. And for those of you out there, my 2 podcast listeners, make sure that your financial house is in order and that you can talk about money with your spouse or your significant other. I guess spouse is fine, right? That encompasses all genders, all 2 of them. But just make sure you can have those conversations, and that's what I figured out the first time that I got married. And my ex-wife, she did not do well with money. So when it came down to it, I basically took control of that aspect of our marriage, and she had way more debt than I had. I just had a couple student loans that might have totaled like, I don't know, $8,000. I mean, I was in great shape. So what she and I did for the 3 years that we were married, the first 2 really, is that we just paid her debt down, paid it down. We bought a house, I think in 2006, and sold it in 2007 before all the shit storm hit the fan. We got really lucky, man. Got in on the middle of the bubble, sold at the end of the bubble, and with what we had as a profit, we were able to pay off all of our debts. So we were debt-free going into the financial crisis of 2008, which was really, really good from our standpoint. But the thing that we did not talk about, the one thing that we did not have good communication about in my first marriage was sex. So, those of you out there who are thinking of getting married, newly married, it's not too late. Even if you're 10 years in, make sure that you can have conversations about money and about sex. Money is the funniest one because of how emotional people can get about money. But if you can take that step back and be like, yo, we are living above our means. Take that rational step. Be like, hey, do we need to go, out to eat 2 times a week? And then you start to run the numbers, and you're like, holy shit, we can stay home and have, like a tuna salad at a tenth of the cost, and we can put our money elsewhere. And see, that's the funny thing about the difference between a home budget and a governmental budget. Nobody in the government is going to come along and say, okay, hey, we should curtail spending here, or we should stop this program. That is never going to happen, because they're not going to get reelected. And if by chance, by some miracle, we can curb term limits for serving in the United States Congress, just like we do for the president, where he's only allowed 8 years, maybe Congress has 6, well, then you're not going to have stuff like that. Or at least it's going to be reduced dramatically, because now you're going to be out in 6 years. You're not going to be a career politician. So what the fuck difference does it make if you get reelected or not? Now you can make unpopular decisions that will put our country on a better financial footing, a healthier financial footing going forward. My big thing is that I would love to see us return to the gold standard. We just fucked the world on that one in 1970, 71, Bretton Woods, when Nixon came out and said, hey, yeah, you know what? All that paper that's floating around out there, we're not going to tie it to gold at all anymore, to the amount of gold we have in reserves, because that's what a dollar was. And I learned this from watching Peter Schiff. A dollar was simply a claim on gold or silver. One of the two, I forgot. Oh man, I wish I remember that. But you could take your $20 bill to the Federal Reserve, and you could redeem your gold way back when. You can't do that anymore because they don't have the gold. So they just print as much money as they want. And before, when our money was tied to the gold standard, you couldn't print more unless you got more gold. I mean, that's the bottom line. Nowadays, it doesn't even have to be gold or silver or precious metal. It just has to be some type of commodity that has value, that can retain its value over time, so that the money that we're exchanging for our goods and services has something backing it. The other thing about going back to a gold standard is what that now does is it also reins in governmental spending. Because if we don't have the currency, and there's a difference between currency and money, obviously. If we don't have the currency to pay for the programs, well, then you can't have the program. So you bring the gold standard back, and all of a sudden, whoa, hey, you can't spend all this money that you don't have anymore. I mean, now we are still doing it. We're spending money that we don't have. We are approaching $30 trillion in debt, not to mention the unfunded liabilities that are on the balance sheet of the United States. Wow, this is interesting. I did not think I was going to be going down this particular route in the podcast today, but it kind of flew by. Here I am back on base, getting ready to go through and get scanned. So yeah, if the government's not going to do it, I mean, corporations are fucking phenomenal at it because they're at survival of the fittest. Now, I'm not saying that corporations don't do shady shit to try to have the laws go in their favor so that they can continue to make profits, but even still, they know how to stay in the black. Hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can get in here. But anyway, yeah, households are not the best at it. The government is even worse. And that's why it's so funny whenever certain businessmen try to get into politics, they can never really catch on with the public. And it cracks me up, man. Because if they could, well, I think they might actually have a an opportunity to turn things around. Is it depressing on one level? Yeah. It actually got me depressed for a couple years. But through the help of my wife, what I have realized is, you know what, this world's going to keep spinning. And you know what, in 2008, when all the shit went down, hang on a second while I get scanned. Oh, this dude doesn't have a scanner, he's just eyeballing it. Morning, my man.
I see the front.
You can.
Have a great day.
Oh, thank you. I got a salute. He's not supposed to salute me. But anyway, yeah, in 2008, just to go back to what I'm saying about the world keeping spinning and why you should stay motivated in whatever the fuck you're doing. In 2008, that's when I actually was hired by the company that I'm continuing to work for right now. We were hiring in the depths of the financial crisis. Why? Because our business was data. Everybody needed the data back then, man. And new data streams were coming into existence, so we needed people to handle those data streams. Back in 2000, when the dot-com bubble burst, I was in graduate school. It didn't really affect me there either. I remember hearing about the wild swings in the market in September 11th when that happened. And of course, you know, you're thinking, holy shit, that's terrible. But I was only like 23, 24 years old. Anyway, needless to say, people, things are not great at the governmental level in this country, but that should not stop you from continuing to move forward and pursue dreams that you have. Again, I'll credit my wife with helping me realize that within the last year or so, and it's put me on a much better footing. And one of the ways in which it's reflected is, you know what, I'm putting this back down. I'll give you a little bit extra time here. One of the ways it's reflected in Denver, with the Rockies look great today, is me wanting to get back in shape. You know, when I was in my fit of depression about the state of our country, I played on my psyche and, you know, didn't want to work out at all. But now that we're here in Colorado, I'm back, I'm hitting the gym, feeling great about the workout. Stepson and I did a half Murph. It's a CrossFit workout yesterday where we ran a mile in total. And I did 50 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, and 150 squats. I think he did 20, 40, 60. Because you do it in a 1 to 2 to 3 relationship. And we're working our way up to Memorial Day, which is when the CrossFit community typically does the Murph workout. And in the full Murph, you run 2 miles, and you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, and 300 squats. And obviously you can break it up. There's no way you can do 100 pull-ups, you know, in one shot, let alone 200 push-ups. But yeah, you got to break it up. And then if you want to get really, really badass, then you put a weighted vest on. Like, I think they do the 20-pound vest when they do them in the CrossFit competitions. Either way, just getting myself back in shape, now that my mind has shifted a little bit on psychologically where it should be, as we continue to move forward as a family, keeping in mind all the shit that's going on at the governmental level, but still living for the household level. I think that's important. All right, you got your bonus 2 minutes there, and I hope everybody's got a great Tuesday, and I'll smell you tomorrow.